Kamala Harris solves racism and brags that she helped make murder even more illegaler than previously thought possible by banning lynching. In fact, she's so proud of it that instead of putting out extra policy positions, she's decided to drag this back into the public conversation because apparently she needs to be patted on the back for doing something that serves no purpose. Except, of course, to toss red meat to the race worshippers in the back. And well, we're going to talk about the pros and cons of this.
If there are any.
But before I get into that, if you like this episode of Balanced Takes, like the video and hit that subscribe button so that you never miss another episode, and follow me on X, formerly Twitter, where I'll go back in time and make sure that the South won, so that finally people will have real problems to complain about. Okay, so we're going to give the benefit of the doubt first. We're going to do something what's called steel manning, which is a mental exercise where you give the best possible argument in favor of something you actually disagree with. But don't worry, I'm going to tear apart afterwards, but I at least want to be able to present the opposing viewpoint. Namely, why is the federal ban on lynching a good thing? Well, first of all, blacks culturally find the practice of lynching to be both terrifying in practice and in concept. I say in practice because, well, according to the Tuskegee University, 3,445 blacks were lynched between 1882 and 1968. And I don't think I have to describe just how horrifying such a fate is. Essentially, someone could accuse a black person of looking at a white person wrongly. The information spreads to the wrong people and bam, a nice mob assembles at your house or place of employment, drags you off, tortures you, beats you, and plays piñata with your swinging corpse.
We might give him a sedative and tell all his little dumb friends he's a piñata.
Now I'm being semi-flippant about it for YouTube, but it certainly was not a trivial matter. It was considered to be the worst way to die, and it's essentially the West form of crucifixion, paired with mob violence. But I also say terrifying in concept because, well, according to Wikipedia, the last time this happened was in 1981, in Alabama, of course. But if you last I checked, it's 2024. That's at least 44 years. And speaking of southern states, that's exactly what happened in Mississippi with Emmett Till. If you remember at the beginning of the video, I mentioned our vice president was bragging that she made lynching illegal. Well, that's what brought all this back into the public conversation, and she cited Emmett Till as an example. The too long didn't read version of this is that a 14-year-old got lied about by a woman claiming that she was offended by a young black man, and later, 2 men found him, tortured him, shot him, threw his body in a river. Later, the men were found and acquitted on a trial under very suspicious circumstances, to say the least. And as a result, this incident was one of the things that helped spark the civil rights movement. And as for the federal ban, the proponents of this say that the purpose is to prevent this from happening ever again. So that essentially, if a biased jury decides to do, well, nothing for what was an obvious crime with obvious participants, at least the federal government can swoop in and deal with the issues so that justice can be served. But even deeper than that, for blacks in particular, even the talk of lynching naturally brings into our minds the question, where did all these people go? Did the racists just magically vanish? And what about their children? Were they just sucked up into a black hole, never to be seen again? The civil rights happened and just boom, they're just all gone. All racism solved. Well, of course not. So it stands to reason that despite time being on our side, a lot of these racists are still around, right? And clearly, they're lurking in the Republican Party. And that's where the steel manning ends. Because unfortunately, there aren't a lot of really good reasons for this federal ban. So if you waited this far for the opposing argument and were just listing reasons why several points were wrong, well, good on you, viewer. I'm proud of you. Reason 1 why this ban
does not make sense.
Her cited justification doesn't even qualify as a lynching. In fact, I know this sounds awful, but the case with Emmett Till was only a murder. Only 2 people committed the crime. There was no mob and no hanging, which means if we decide to call the Emmett Till incident a lynching, then pretty much every murder in history that involved more than one person could be considered a lynching. Now you might say there was hate involved, but I don't know. I think anytime you have 2 people decide to kill someone else, there's definitely hate involved, so have fun with that. Now you might think this is a bit pedantic to point out, but definitions matter when it comes to the law. And in my opinion, the reason she cited this incident in particular is because there just aren't a lot of modern lynchings to even pull from, which highlights the disingenuousness of this in the first place.
It's our politicians peddle policy.
Even under the Tuskegee University's definition, this just doesn't pass. Tuskegee Institute, now Tuskegee University, defined conditions that constituted a recognized lynching, a definition which became generally accepted by other compilers of the era. There must be legal evidence that a person was killed, that person must have met death illegally, a group of 3 or more persons must have participated in the killing, and the group must have acted under the pretext of service to justice, race, or tradition. Google says, lynch, of a mob to kill someone, especially by hanging, for an alleged offense with or without a legal trial, or informally, to severely criticize or condemn someone. You know, pretty much every day online. Oh my gosh, the comment section is absolutely lynching me! But sadly, a lot of people are still stuck back in that time, or believe that Republicans are just lurking behind every corner, wanting to bring back a Jim Crow South, so issues like this are just extra hot for them. Reason number 2 why this ban
Does not make sense.
Earlier I brought a graphic on the screen, which I will show here. Let me know if you see something interesting. In fact, I'll give you a few seconds. Pause the video if you like. If you saw it, then congratulations. You get
Nothing.
That's right, the rate of lynchings of whites were about 50% of that of blacks. Which means, according to Tuskegee's own findings, these people were murdered over hate issues, the supermajority of which were likely over protecting blacks. I actually had to look that part up because when I read it, that actually really confused me. And no one ever talks about that part. They always talk about the horrors and the obvious suffering that happened among blacks and, well, then African Americans. But no one ever talks about that whites had some of the similar things happen to them as well. And even for protecting black people. Why isn't that important? Why is that never pointed out? And not only did we fight a massive war over this issue, both blacks and whites were being killed over racial animosity for another 100 years after the Civil War. Do blacks like being lynched? No. But guess what? Neither do white people. No one does. And many of them paid the price. And I know people like to believe that we're living back in the 1920s or the 1870s or the 1880s or the 1820s. Now, the reality is, the Civil Rights era, the Civil Rights movement has happened and come and gone. Most of these issues have gone away, become illegal, got swept under the rug, whatever you want to call it. The blacks are equal now. Case is closed. The ban is pointless. The rhetoric is woefully divisive. There's no need to dredge up something that is emotionally charged, that we know is emotionally charged, just to, what I feel like, to get some really, really lazy political points.
It's our politicians peddle policy.
Congratulations, Kamala Harris got Joe Biden to ban lynching. No one is against lynching. No one. You might as well ban kicking puppies. But the point isn't to say that kicking puppies is or isn't bad. The point is to say that, oh, are you against puppies being kicked? You evil Republican.
How dare you?
That's all this is. It's just a pitiful way of trying to dredge up more racial issues in America that apparently just isn't divided enough for them. Reason number 3 why this ban
Does not make sense.
Is murder illegal? Yes. Is murder a federal crime? No. Is someone extra dead because they died over a racial issue? No. Then why is this special? Because it's a hate crime? Because you didn't want a jury at the state level to let someone get away with something awful? Well, in that case, let's make all murder a federal crime. Because then you'd actually catch crimes that are actually committed in the current day. Unlike lynching, which the last time it happened was in the 1980s. In fact, let's not even stop there. All theft, swindling, speeding, jaywalking, all of it. Federal crimes on the books. You can't get away with anything anymore. I might say, come on, Song, that's ridiculous. But I guarantee you, scenarios for everyone else's crimes exist where the crime perpetrated can be so egregiously heinous that they could go down in history. But that's not how things work. That's not how things should work. Let the states do their job. And if they don't, then so be it. Let them fail. Overcriminalizing the justice system and letting the federal government weigh in with what crimes it especially hates is just a gateway for, in the future, the government weaseling its way into your life and making crimes out of things that don't make any sense. And that's the main takeaway from this whole issue. Don't let politicians pull your emotional strings. And don't let government have more control just because they dress something up and think of the children, or in this case, think of the blacks level of argumentation. Just push all that nonsense out of the way. Think, research, filter through all the political nonsense.
Read!
Americans.
Read!
It'll make you a better person. It'll make you a smarter person. It'll make you a more informed person if you don't allow demagogues to just lie to you. The moment a politician says something that gets you all riled up, no matter who it is, there should be a buzzer going off in your head that says, is this true? Is this right? And what is the opposing perspective? Because if you're not a person who naturally thinks like that and naturally just questions everything immediately, it's very easy to get wrapped up in things like, why are you against banning lynching? Do you hate black people?
How dare you?
I can't help but take note that there's also this funny community note below her tweet.
And that, as they say, is that.
But hey, if you like this kind of content, be sure to check out more of it. I try to tackle a somewhat diverse range of cultural issues, from movie reviews to questions of free will on the internet. If you would, like this video and drop a few words of encouragement or criticism in the comment section down below, and I'll see you again next time. Bye!